Okay, good afternoon, Herd family. Hope all is well and hope everyone's enjoying their summer. It's obviously been a hot one, but appreciate everybody taking some time and spending a little bit of your afternoon with us. We're thrilled to present the third of our three-part virtual fireside chat here with Athletic Director Gerald Harrison joining us today. It's been a summer of some incredible sports with the World Cup, Major League Baseball All-Star game, lots of great things going on, and we thought it'd be a great time to share a little bit about what's happening with Marshall Athletics. And I look forward to hearing more from both Brad and Gerald here in a couple seconds. As always, I want to take a quick moment just to thank the team here at the Marshall University Foundation and Alumni Association, Jalen Jones, Rebecca Stevens, Ashley Marion, and others that are, as I mentioned a couple times, in mission control here in the Foundation Hall, making sure that everybody's able to access this event, and a lot of work goes into it ahead of time. So appreciate all the work that you guys are doing, guys. Thank you so much. I want to welcome some foundation board members, some University Board of Governor members, some of our chapter leaders, Alumni Association board members. Really thrilled to have a group of well over 100 joining us today. As always, there's a Q&A section where we will be accepting comments, questions. Please go in, share your name, your class year. One of the things we're asking today is your favorite athletic memory at Marshall. So please feel free to enter that in there and share it with the rest of the group. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be monitoring the Q&A section throughout the session and passing on some of those questions to both Brad and Gerald. So again, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a really lot of fun having these three different sessions, and we're just grateful for the support and for your willingness to learn more about what's happening here at Marshall. So with that, I am going to hand it off to the 38th president of Marshall University, Brad Smith. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you, Nico. I appreciate everyone joining us this evening. And as Nico said, I hope you had a great July 4th. You're having an amazing summer. You're celebrating America's 250th, and you're trying to stay somewhat cool in this heat wave that's covered all the corners of the nation. It's a privilege to be with you again this evening. And also, it's been great to have the last two sessions. Our first session, I was joined by Tony Stroud. We talked about the mixed use economic development effort we have, which we call the Idea District. Impossible doesn't exist anymore. That's a $200 million development being funded by third party and also state funding, and we're excited about that. In the last session, I was joined by Jerry Ross, the Vice President of Enrollment and Admissions. We talked about how we reversed a 13-year enrollment decline, and even in the face of a demographic downshift in the number of 18-year-olds, we've been able to grow enrollment 22% the last 4 years, and it looks like in the fall we may have another positive number if we can hold on to the students we have over the summer. So a lot of exciting things going on. Today, I'm going to take about 15 to 18 minutes setting this up, and then I'll hand it over to Gerald to talk about athletics specifically. But there were two topics I wanted to provide this group just to build on the things we've talked about so far. The first is I want to provide you an update on an AI strategic retreat we had over the first 2 days of this week. It was a very broad and expansive strategy workshop. The purpose is we do this once a year to raise the altitude of the plane and look out over the dashboard and not out over the windshield and not down in the dashboard. And we invited a larger group than normal. We had our cabinet, which is the administration that works with me. We also had the deans. We had the department chairs. We had the heads of our 5 shared governance groups, which included student government, classified, non-classified staff, graduate council, and faculty. And then we had an AI operating committee, an AI task force that's been leading this effort for the last 3 years. So I'll talk a little bit about what we did there, what we learned, and what we're doing going forward. And then the second is I want to preview a white paper that has been co-authored by myself, Gerald, our Board of Governors, and many on the campus that talks about the importance of Marshall athletics and the role that Marshall will play in helping shape the next chapter of athletics with all the transformation that's occurring as we speak. So let me begin first with the AI strategy workshop. We got grounded over a 2-day period in the internal and external trends, the data, and the best practices of AI that are not only affecting our daily lives and society in general, but are also affecting education and in particular Marshall. We took the time to acknowledge and identify the central tensions, not only the upside and the promise, but also the peril and the risks of AI. We created a space for all perspectives to be heard, and those perspectives range from advocates that are excited about how transformational this can be for a personalized learning journey to concerns about cybersecurity, privacy, and even the impact of the environment with large data centers. We worked our way through that constructive conflict, and we developed a series of next steps that'll be both pragmatic and forward-leaning. And our goal is now to open that work up to our faculty and our students when they come back in the early fall. And by October 1, to feed all that into a refreshed plan on a page for Marshall University. We were joined by a couple of really world-renowned experts, Paul LeBlanc, who was the former president of Southern New Hampshire University. He led that institution for 21 years and took them from an enrollment of 2,800 students to 250,000 students. He is now a fellow and a teacher at Harvard and is also working with the Gates Foundation studying AI all around the globe. He's a dear friend of mine. I had the opportunity to speak to him and his cabinet when he was still serving as president, and I was in California. And he returned the favor by coming here and doing this for us and charged us nothing. And it was unbelievable what we got. He also brought a partner, Rachel Koblitz. And Rachel Koblitz is a leading instructional designer in AI, working with some of the foremost technology companies in the world. And together they helped facilitate an amazing session. Everyone showed up with a lot of pre-work. They not only got the listening tour debrief that I completed over the spring with 30 different listening sessions and 1,000 participants and what people feel good about and what they're worried about on campus, but we also conducted a survey of our own campus of how people feel about AI today, what they're excited about, what worries them, and what's the thing they think we need to focus on. That included employees and students. We also benchmarked the best practices of other universities right now and how they're applying AI. There were more than 24 universities that we captured their policies and approaches. So we shared that with all 90 participants on Monday and Tuesday. And then we bought everybody a copy of the book that Paul LeBlanc just wrote, and it's called Reclaiming Purpose, the University in an AI World. And it was an article written about his book that we sent, as well as the book itself, and everyone read it. So we had a lot of pre-work coming in. After doing that, we asked everybody to basically complete 3 reflections of how they were feeling about Marshall University and our readiness to take on this new chapter. I will tell you, over the 2-day workshop, we had a fireside chat with Paul, which was unbelievable. We had a fireside chat with students on our campus and how they feel about AI and their frustrations with the inconsistency classroom to classroom. We also had a panel between Paul and Brandon Dennison talking about what industry's expectations are of us getting our students ready to operate in an AI world. And then we had a lot of breakout sessions where small groups that was a mix of faculty, staff, and students got together and they worked on prompts. Here's a couple of takeaways. The first is what inspired everybody in that working session, and they have confidence, is they have confidence that Marshall will remain a people and relationship-centered campus. The second is they have confidence in our collective leadership and our willingness to lean in and have this conversation. Many universities are not even talking about this. The third is they do believe that AI brings real promise in terms of advising, counseling, and creating a personal learning plan for every student depending upon where they are in the journey. And last but not least, they felt like this is very aligned with Marshall for All because it focuses on access, affordability, and being distinctive. There were concerns that came out of the session, not surprises. The first is our people are working hard, and this is one new thing. So we're going to have to take something off the plate to have them lean in and take this on. The second is the students are very worried that we have inconsistent policies on campus. They go to one classroom and a professor says you can use AI. They go to the next classroom and the professor says I'm against AI and you better not have your computer out. And it makes it very inconsistent. So we need to have an approach across campus that allows every student to get the experience they need and leave here prepared. The third is obviously there were concerns about data governance and privacy. And last but not least, concerns about critical thinking and ethical reasoning and empathy and making sure we don't lose the development of those skills as a part of the university experience. The collective takeaway was this, that we need a very clear and actionable AI strategy embedded in our Marshall for All game plan, that we need to ensure everyone who graduates here is AI ready, and that our faculty and staff are also trained to help students get AI ready. The third is we need to redesign our processes and don't just automate what we have, because many of our processes need to be reimagined. And last but not least, we need to keep Marshall distinctive by being human first. So the net takeaway was this campus is really leaning in. We didn't argue whether we should embrace AI. We spent our time focused on how we strengthen our mission, our people, and our students by using it as a tool. And probably the best quote of the day was one of our students, the vice president of student government, who said, AI is an enhancer, not the answer. So it's going to be a way to put Marshall's magic on steroids. So more to come. We're going to basically have all the chairs and the deans roll this out to their faculty. We're going to get input from everybody by October 1, and we'll have a refreshed plan on a page. But we've already made investments in technology and other things so that we can really get out ahead of this thing and be one of the foremost universities leaning into the future. So with that topic, I'll go to my second, and this will set Gerald up. And that is a preview of a white paper that we've written that will talk about the importance of Marshall's role and the position in the shifting landscape of athletics. Just as AI is redefining society in general, we all know that college athletics has been going through a similar seismic shift over the last several years. We'll talk more about it, but it includes everything from NIL to the transfer portal to conference realignment, revenue sharing, escalating coaching salaries, travel and facility costs, and also legal and regulatory uncertainty. So there's a lot going on that Gerald and the team are navigating. But I want to tell you what we've built into this white paper. It is going to be signed by the chair of our board of governors, Kathy Eddy, myself, and Gerald as the athletic director. It's modeled after a similar white paper that the University of Louisville put out about 6 or 7 months ago. And its purpose is to not only educate our alumni and our fans on where Marshall sees athletics as being important in our portfolio, but what is the reality of Marshall athletics in terms of expense and revenue, and how does that fit into the broader picture of NCAA and the Sun Belt Conference, and then ultimately what they can do to help. So I'm hopeful that the purpose of this white paper will help answer questions of why didn't the band travel, or why don't we have more people doing X, or why aren't you fixing Y? We're going to put all of our facts out there so everyone knows where we sit as athletics. So I'll hit some of the top points, and then I'll basically turn it over to Gerald to take it from there. So let me start first with moments. We call these things Marshall moments, moments in your life that not only shape who you are today, but shape who you're going to become. Athletics are a key part of shaping Marshall University. We are 189 years old. We have risen through the ranks to be the top 3.5% of all universities as a Carnegie R2 research institution. Our athletics programs are the heartbeat of our campus and our community. We know we have 120,000 alumni whose hearts beat fast when they hear about Marshall and they hear AC/DC play Thunderstruck. And we also know that our thundering herd, the bison, is one of those rare animals that runs into a storm, not away from it, but it travels as a pack with the strongest on the outside, putting the oldest, the youngest, and the weakest in the middle so everyone comes through that storm. And whether it's AI or it's the shifting landscape of athletics, the thundering herd is doing that again. We are leading with AI, and we are also going to lean in with this white paper to be the first group of 6 school to put this out in the ether about the importance of athletics and the role we need to have the federal government and our own alumni lean in and help support. Let me talk a little bit about athletics and the role at Marshall. It is obviously one of our most visible, unifying, and economically important assets. It brings national profile. It brings people to Huntington. It supports local businesses. It fuels pride, not only in our state, but in our alma mater. Its impact is not only measured with wins and losses, it has enrollment visibility, economic activity, community connection, alumni engagement, and shared identity. And it sustains all of those things. You know, we have roughly 415 student athletes when we're at full roster size. They compete for the university each year, and they balance a rigorous competitive schedule with a rigorous academic schedule as well as what they invest in our community. They become our future leaders in every realm of society: teachers, nurses, engineers, entrepreneurs, and it goes on. Let me tell you some facts about our student athletes. First of all, they are students. They have a 92% completion rate in terms of graduation, which puts them at the top in the Sun Belt and above the national average of all D1 schools. Not only do they have a high completion rate, the average GPA this year in the spring of 2026 was a 3.1. Our GPA went from a 3.1 for the lowest of the teams to a 3.9 for the highest of the teams, and we actually had 86 students who were a perfect 4.0 in GPA. Not only are they amazing students who graduate 92%, by the way, that compares to the university's graduation of 53%. So they literally are almost 2x our graduation rate of our students. They do that while completing 3,600 hours of community service this past year, reading to children in schools, supporting nonprofits, mentoring young students, assisting charities, visiting hospitals. In addition to that, they're visible ambassadors on everything from leadership to discipline to perseverance. They go into our communities, they talk to people, and they have all of the grace and the dignity and the competitiveness that you would want in someone you could claim as your own son or daughter. That also carries over into other areas. They help us with our identity. This year, Marshall Athletics generated 53 million social media impressions in the year 25-26. That equates to $1.7 million of advertising if we had to buy that advertising. So when they win, when they compete, people follow, it builds the brand of Marshall. And that helps us with everything from enrollment to recruiting to retention to alumni donations to community involvement. Let me talk about the economic impact of Marshall Athletics. Game day matters. We have a big impact on the restaurants, the hotels, the businesses, and everything that surrounds this community. In fact, in 2026, we did an economic study. For every dollar we invest in athletics, it produces $1.63 in economic impact. So it expands not only the dollar we get, it grows it by 63 cents. Our athletics program generates 528 full-time equivalent jobs. So everyone who comes in, from helping the parking to manning the elevators to making sure food service, it creates jobs for everybody in the community. Simply stated, our athletics department matters. They're great students. They give back 3,600 hours of service. They are awesome examples of role models, of leaders, and they have an economic impact in our community. Now I'm going to put it in the context as I wrap up about athletics. Marshall Athletics fits in a broader scheme that have larger schools with a lot more resources and schools in the group of 6, many of whom have a lot more resources. So as you know, you have these two groups. You have what used to be known as the Power 4. Now they're known as the Autonomy 4. These are the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC. We know who they are. And then you have the group of 6, used to be the group of 5. These are the Sun Belt Conference, the Mid-America Conference, the American Athletic Conference, Conference USA. We know who they are. We play many of them. The Sun Belt is one of the most competitive conferences in the group of 6. To compete in this league, there's real financial benchmarks that matter. Things like coaching and salaries, recruiting, travel, facilities, technology, fan experience. We got to stay up to snuff with all that. Let me tell you where we sit in the Sun Belt. There are 14 schools in the Sun Belt. Marshall is the 13th out of 14 in size in terms of enrollment, which means we're the second smallest. In terms of our tuition cost, we are 14th out of 14, which means we're the lowest cost, the cheapest. In terms of student fees to generate athletics, we're in the same category. But then in terms of spend, revenue generated and expense that we invest in athletics, Marshall goes from the 13th out of 14 in size to 4th out of 14 in investment. Why do we do that? Because we know that athletics grows enrollment, grows economic vitality for the community, $1.63 for every dollar. They give back to our community. They graduate at high rates. They are the example of Marshall for All, and we view them as an investment. Now I'm going to talk about how we do that, because you could say, wow, we're spending too much on athletics. Today, Marshall University subsidizes our athletics program at 54%, which means we spend about $49 million, according to this particular study, in athletics. And of that, 54% was paid for by the university, coming out of tuition and fees and state funds. The other 46% comes from tickets, donations, and all the other auxiliary revenue that athletics generates on its own. When we talk about 50-50, we've given our athletics department a challenge to say, get to where you're generating more external revenue, that we're only covering 50% from the university and you're covering 50%. We do that because that's the same thing we're doing on campus with faculty and everyone else, is we want $1 to match $1, and we need to treat all of the Marshall family the same way. So that puts a lot of challenge and pressure on our athletics department to get to 50-50 while remaining competitive in the Sun Belt, let alone broader NCAA athletics. Here's a point on athletics. Sometimes people think everyone makes money in athletics. I'm here to say to you, it's official. There is no program anyone's been able to find in the United States of America that is making money right now in athletics. Ohio State lost $39 million as they won a national championship. Penn State, Louisville, Kentucky, they're all going out. Georgia, every one of them are openly talking about the deficits they're running in athletics because of NIL, revenue share, and everything else. Let me give you a real example about Marshall. We get excited when we make it to a football bowl game. Our fans get excited. We get paid $500,000 when we make it to a bowl game. It costs us roughly $900,000 to go play the bowl game. So you could say, wow, we lose $400,000 in the bowl game, but we know what it does when we win, where our alumni get to go, what happens to enrollment. So we view that as a $400,000 investment. But that's why bands don't always travel, or a full squad doesn't always get to go, or we don't always charter planes for everybody, because we're literally losing money when we play the bowl game, and we got to find ways to do it as efficiently as possible. So I put all this on the table to say we're taking action with our white paper. We've been working with Senator Capito. We've been working with Senator Justice. We've been working with our delegates, Riley Moore and also Carol Miller, and we've leaned in with the conference, and we're basically supporting federal legislation to have Congress make sure certain things happen, that we have a level playing field so we don't end up with a super league and then all the others, that we have transparency and accountability where people have to be truthful about what they're spending on money and whether or not they're doing pay to play. We are looking for ways to create sustainable revenue models. We're looking for ways to protect Olympic and women's sports, and we're making sure there's national consistency. No one university can do this on its own. And then we're basically putting out in this white paper what our alumni can do to help. Buying tickets, joining and giving through the Big Green, supporting an athlete if you have a business and name, image, and likeness, helping us invest in facilities, showing up for Olympic and women's sports, encouraging corporations to support Marshall, and telling our story about why athletics matters. So this is all going to come out in writing. I wanted you to hear it from us, because many times we get into conversations where people don't always have the same data. And it's going to be important for us, especially as we came out of things like swim and dive, where everyone has complete transparency about what's happening at Marshall, how we value athletics, the reality of the financial situation, not only in athletics writ large, but at Marshall University, and how people can help. So with that, I'm going to hit pause, and I'm going to hand it over to Gerald so he can share some opening remarks, and then we'll be happy to take any questions about what I've covered, what he's going to cover, and just open it up for a dialogue.
I appreciate it, Brad. It is awesome. Another great day to run with the herd, and an opportunity to talk about one of my favorite subjects, intercollegiate athletics at Marshall University. We could not be more excited about the direction that we're headed in. Are there challenges? Absolutely. But are we fearing any of them? No, because we know that our goals are clear, and our one goal is simple. We want to be the most complete athletics department in the country, where student athletes advance through holistic development, create and cultivate lifelong learning and growth, and have a lasting impact on this community and the communities that they come from. This is possible. I think when we first started talking about it, people are a little shocked that I say we want to be the most complete. We want to be the most complete, meaning this. We believe that we can win at everything at Marshall. We believe that our student athletes can be prepared and successful in competition, that they can excel in the classroom like President Smith talked about earlier. We believe that they can make a mark on our community, and that we can also win by making them better people than they were when they got to campus. That's our job, because regardless of how much or everything that's happened in college athletics, one thing that has not changed is our job to educate, evaluate, develop, grow, and graduate. And that's what our student athletes are going to do while we're here. As the athletics department, we stay very close to the mission of the university. We have a plan on the page as well. Brad talked about that a little bit ago, about the university's plan on the page, what they're doing. Here's our plan on the page. It starts, number one, with our student athlete experience. Every day, that is our number one goal. That is something that we have to do. Make sure that our student athlete experience is different. It's different than everybody else. We don't want anybody to think we're just here to play sports. We want their experience to be deeper than that. And so we work and come up with ways to do that. We want a pillar two. We want to make sure that our fan experience and our community involvement is top notch. Yes, we want to be the best show in West Virginia, but beyond that, we want to create an image that's game day in Huntington. And we want, from the time you drive down 3rd or 5th to the time you walk into our facilities, wherever they're located, that you have an experience that you're going to remember, that you want your children, your friends, and everybody to remember. We want an event, and that's what's going to make us special. And then obviously what Brad talked about from a financial standpoint, we got to work on our revenue generation. And so that's something that we got to do, and we continue to do. And that starts with looking at what we've done in the past, but also modeling toward our future, realizing that our venues are no longer just places where we'll play 6 football games in a year or 15 basketball games. How can we use these facilities all the time? And we'll talk more about that as we go. One thing I do want to point out, you'll hear us often talk about the herd mentality. The herd mentality is very simple. We want to make sure that our this is where we live for all of our people, our student athletes, our coaches, our staff. We want to honor the journey. We want to respect the job that we have in front of us. We've got to understand the challenges that are there. We got to commit to personal growth and understanding that it is a journey. And a lot of times it's a marathon and not a sprint. But we want to make sure we honor the journey. We want to engage with purpose. We don't engage our student athletes. We want to engage our fans, our families, our friends, our community with purpose. Not just do it, not just come to the game, not just graduate, but do it with a purpose. Brad talked about AI. The R is simple, rise through innovation. There's got to be more efficient ways of doing things than we did it when I started this business 20 years ago. There are better ways to do it, and we are partnered with Brad and the university, and this place is forward thinking, always trying to be ahead, and that has changed the way we've done things in intercollegiate athletics in just a short period of time. And then most importantly, dedicate to others. You know, I often say it's easy to quit on yourself, but it's hard to quit on your teammate. It's hard to quit on your brother and your sister or your family. So everything that we do, we want to make sure that we dedicate it to something bigger than ourselves, and that's each other. And we want to make sure we leave no one behind. So that's the herd mentality. And you'll hear us talk about this in intercollegiate athletics all the time. Beyond the herd mentality, you know, we want to think about the first year and some of the things that we've accomplished. And, you know, it was we got a lot accomplished. But let me introduce to you our executive team. When you look at these individuals, these are the folks this is the cabinet for athletics, the executive team that really makes things go. And I'm really excited about them. It is a great mixture of experienced administrators. It's a mixture of youth, and innovative folks that really work hard to make sure that our athletics department is great. Naisha Campbell is our chief operating officer and our deputy ADs. One thing I talked about with Naisha, she's really a jack of all trades and does a lot of great things for us. She was voted one of the top 100 future ADs in the country. So it gives us a great person to have on staff. But then you look at people the mix of folks who have been here, like Andrew Brown and Teddy Klemper and Mike Valentine, and then the ones that we brought in, Cody, who's nationally known for his work in compliance and integrity, Deja James, who's dealing with our student athlete welfare, who's a certified athletic trainer, a certified mental health professional, incredible. Max, who came with us from Austin P. Max is our chief of staff here, the air traffic controller that makes it all go. But he's a former student athlete who played pretty recently, and kind of can work with just our student athletes, help us understand and translate some of the things that we need to be translated. So this is our executive team, and we're really excited about them. Well, you can't just have a great executive team, you got to have great head coaches. We have an outstanding group of head coaches here. We have folks who have much championship experience, that have been through some wars, been through some battles. We have a national championship coach. We have, if you look at what Coach Zirkle's doing right now on the, not only she led our team to an unbelievable year, but you look at what she's doing on the professional softball, and we really hope that it gives her a chance in the Olympics. And you talk about our new coaches, and Phoebe Campbell, who's a winner, Evan Richard, who never lost an event in stunt. But then when you look at Corny Jackson, a legend here at Marshall, Greg Beals, and so on. Julie Folks, who may be one of the greatest innovators I've been around, and her use of analytics to succeed. But this group of individuals are leading young people, and we're really excited about the coaches here. No success can happen without great administrators and great coaches, and that gets us started. And then, of course, it goes around the student athletes, which is pillar one. So I touched on some of our highlights this year. I'm not going to go through all these, but our men's soccer program, again, outstanding, making it to the Sun Belt Championship game. And I think one thing people forget about men's soccer is that the Sun Belt has 4 Autonomy 4 schools in it, in West Virginia, Central Florida, Kentucky, and South Carolina. And we stand tall above them all with over 2,000 days ranked in the national poll, getting to the tournament, winning in the tournament. That's huge. Women's soccer, winning the most games they've won since 2015. And then cross country, where we have not been traditionally strong, having 3 all-conference performers in the fall. So we're really excited about what's been going on with those programs. When you start going into our winter seasons, that was really exciting. You start talking about men's basketball, got the 2nd seed in the Sun Belt, had some great wins at home, some great crowds. Coach Jackson was a finalist for the Ben Jobe Award for the outstanding year that he put together. Women's basketball, 28 wins this season, 3rd most in program history. WNIT champions. Was most importantly, 5,475 people paid to pack the cam to see women's basketball. What a great opportunity we have to grow that program. We had 2 champions in swimming and diving, and then our indoor track and field team, again, 4 podium finishers and 1 champion. So another great year on the winter side of the year. Spring, we didn't back up. When we start talking about tennis going to the Sun Belt Championship, you're talking about our track and field with 9 all-conference performers. And you cannot pass up talking about our outstanding softball team, who not only just made it to the NCAA tournament, but won an NCAA tournament competition. This is only our 3rd time ever in that tournament. And Coach Zirkle went as a player and a coach. Capacity crowds at the dot, really exciting. When you start thinking about Cindy Burko as the Sun Belt Player of the Year, local student athlete doing great things, and that's coming back for another year. And then Bryce Blevins on the mound for our baseball team. So it was an outstanding year from that standpoint. A lot of our academic success Brad highlighted, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I want to make sure you understand how important it is. 92%. Highest graduation success rate in our conference. That is a huge thing. We are very proud because, again, I say our job is to educate and graduate, and we've proven that we can do that. Our student athletes kicked behind in the semester in the spring with a 3.43 GPA. We had 86 student athletes with a 4.0, every team above a 3.0. We don't take that. Academic success is not secondary. It's not something we also do. We do that as well. We expect success there because I believe our student athletes will rise up to meet the benchmarks that we set for them. And that is something that we stress all the time with our academics. In the community, our student athletes completed 5,400 hours of community service this year. That is where we want to be. Our goal is for every student athlete to finish a minimum of 15 hours of community service in the spring and the fall. And we're almost to that goal, and I'm challenging them to get there. 12 of our teams did achieve that goal, where everybody's out in the community. We can't ask the community to support us if we don't first support the community. I believe that that's a pillar. That's something we have to do. We talk about career development. So we do things all the time. One of the things we're really excited about is our Next Play career networking event, where we get our alumni. Some of you are probably on this Zoom, where we get you with our student athletes, and we try to get them together to find opportunities after they graduate. We don't just want people to walk across the stage, shake Brad's hand, and walk off. We want them to shake Brad's hand and go get a job. Our philosophy is they either got to go to graduate school, get a job, or go to professional sports. And we're working on our goal of doing that is 94%. And right now we're at 89% of our student athletes meeting that benchmark. And so we're going to continue going in that direction. Next, really want to start talking about some of the things that we're doing in the future. Looking at FY27, last year we launched the Dutch Miller deck to great success. It's one of the only places in college football where you get 3 viewing areas. So we're really excited about what we did there. This year we added the porch, and that's an area in the south end zone. We have sold out within a few days of launching that tailgate in the stadium initiative. We think that's going to be really fun, and we got a little bit of a wait list, and we're looking for ways to add more because, as Brad talked about, revenue generation is going to be very important to us. But we're not just doing that in football. We're doing it in soccer. As you know, many people know we have the 2020 club in soccer. We're going to move. We've got a new area for that located toward the front of the stadium, more televisions, more viewing opportunities, just a different festive atmosphere that we're putting together for men's soccer, and that's going to be great. And then we're going to announce some things really soon about basketball that I'm not going to touch today, but we got 3 new areas in men's and women's basketball that we're really excited about, looking for ways to increase our revenues, but also make an atmosphere that is second to none. We will have the best atmosphere for sports in the Sun Belt Conference. That's a promise. All right, if you go forward, one of the things that we're really excited about, we're the 4th school in the country. 4th school in the country to have an all sport jersey patch announcement. Our partnership with Marshall Health Network is a great example of what everybody wants to do. We've gotten calls all over the country from people wanting to know, how did you do it? What happened? What did you offer? What did you do? And we're really excited, really thankful to all those folks at Marshall Health Network for believing in our athletics department and sponsoring Marshall Athletics across all of our sports. So we're really excited about all of that. So beyond that, I think I want to talk a little bit about, people always ask me, do we have a plan? We definitely have a plan. When you talk about our athletic fundraising priorities, things that we're going to need help with and that we're working on right now. Our number one goal is not to build brand new. We're not looking to build new buildings and everything right now. Our focus is on taking care of the house, fixing critical infrastructure, and making improvements that we need to make our facilities better. So that's stuff like air conditioning in the CAM or in the Skaggs practice facility. That's working on our locker rooms and things like that. That's adding handrails to the Joan and in the CAM in places that we need them to make it more comfortable for our long-term fans that have been supporting the herd for a long time. Beyond that, you hear us talk about revenue share and NIL. So we got to make a focus on competitive excellence. And so we're working through that as well. Then the student athlete experience, and then we're going to work on debt reduction. We incurred some debt over the last few years building things like the baseball stadium, the deck and some other things, and we got to fix that. And so every project you see we're doing, we're paying for it thanks to the help through philanthropy and revenue generation. And we're trying to do it without debt and paying down the debt that we have. And lastly, taking care of the house. We talked about the light project. We'd like to thank the new family for funding that for us. We're updating our premium areas, as you see in this slide. So there'll be new entrances and welcomes to you when you come in our facilities. And then the Lawrence family, Kim Lawrence, for our indoor turf facility. So we're doing a lot of different things in athletics. I know you have questions. I kind of went through that quickly, but I wanted to make sure we left time for questions. And I look forward to talking more about Marshall athletics.
Okay, Gerald, thank you so much. Brad, thank you. We'll get Brad back on the screen as well, and really appreciate that thorough presentation from both of you. Thank you so much. So, a couple questions. We'll start with you, Gerald. This is from our friend Jim Summers down in Atlanta. What do you see as the biggest challenge right now for Thundering Herd Athletics, and what is your strategy for overcoming that one particular challenge?
I think our biggest challenge right now is to make sure the recruitment and retention of student athletes. We can't be successful and win and do represent Marshall the way it deserves to be represented if we don't have great student athletes. And recruiting and retaining them is harder. Our plan for doing that is making sure that we have the best student athlete experience possible. That means we want to make sure where they live, where they're living, where they go to school, where they study, they train are great places. That still matters. Student athletes are savvy consumers. And so we got to make sure that we have all those things that they need to be successful and to cultivate growth in their goals in their sport. The other part of that is obviously revenue share and NIL. We got student athletes are getting paid nowadays. So we got to continue coming up with ways to be able to support that, to bring the best talent here to Huntington, but not just have them here, have them win here, graduate here, move here, and impact our community long term. So our plan is to keep moving toward gaining more revenue and making sure that we have great facilities and great development opportunities for our student athletes.
Great. Thank you, Gerald. And just as a reminder for our folks attending in the Q&A section, you can ask a question there and we'll try to get to it before we finish up here. This next one is back to you, Brad. When you were talking a little bit about AI, how does one define the term AI ready here at Marshall?
Yeah, that's what we spent a lot of time talking about the last 2 days. We decided AI literate is insufficient. We're going to need to work by major and discipline to say how is AI going to affect their profession. And we need to build real world experiences into the classroom. So when they graduate, they have a portfolio, what we call a co-curricular transcript, not only what they learned in the didactic session of an academic classroom, but how they actually put it to work and applied it. So when they go to an interview, they said, here's how I've already built an engineering project, or here's how I did a marketing campaign where I brought my creativity and AI. So we're talking about AI proficiency, and it's going to be a very experiential journey as opposed to simply learning about it or saying, I know how to write a prompt.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you, Max Willem, for that question. Gerald, one more for you. I know you touched on it a little bit toward the end of your presentation, but can you tell us a little bit more about your plans for the soccer program and facilities and how alums and friends can help?
Absolutely. We have one of the premier soccer programs in the country, and the vet has served us well. And there are some ways that we need to make sure that we have a great facility going forward. One, we need to replace the game field. Our teams practice and play there. We need to replace the practice field there. We need to look at capacity situations and opportunities. We need to adapt our team facility for 2026 and beyond. Right now, we got some work to do there. And so Coach Grassi has done a great job communicating what he believes that the team needs. The program needs to maintain its level of competitiveness. Coach Smith, President Smith, and I understand, we understand that. And it's going to take a philanthropic gift to help us get there. We can't completely do this off of revenue generating. The sport doesn't generate that kind of revenue that will help us do these projects, which probably will equal over $2 million. But first, we want to start with the field and looking for an opportunity for some philanthropic help there to do that. And once we get the money, Brad knows I'll build it. The cash in, we'll spend it right away to improve our situation.
Thank you, Gerald. Appreciate that. And I think we have time for one more. Brad, I'll go back to you on this one. And I know both of you probably touched a little bit on this in your presentations, but how do you define success for our athletics department beyond wins and losses?
The way Gerald defined it in his plan on a page, the most complete student athlete experience in the country and the biggest show in Huntington. Those for me are success. When you talk about successful graduates, you talk about those that are in the community giving back service. You talk about great examples, leader teachers that set the example for the next generation coming out of high school that want to be like them. And when you talk about the fact that they help us collectively create economic growth in our region, that is success. So it's the most holistic student athlete experience in the country, bar none, playing for a brand that the entire world knows and can chant, "We are Marshall," and ultimately having the impact on those that they leave behind, and then hope they never forget us and they come back and help the next generation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, we are at our time here. It's a little past 5:15. Gerald, Brad, thank you again for joining us. Thanks for taking the time and sharing all that information that you shared. Brad, especially thank you to you for participating in all three of these. I hope everybody enjoyed these sessions. It was a new thing for us to try these virtual fireside chats. You'll get a link to a survey. If you get an opportunity, please go on. Let us know what you think of this format. Let us know what you think of the topics. If you have some suggestions for some future topics, we would love to hear them. We're discussing when we will do these in the future. It obviously is a busier time here as we're getting closer to the fall semester. But we have enjoyed putting these on for our alums and donors and friends. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all you do for Marshall University, all you do for our students. Enjoy the rest of your summer. We look forward to seeing you, hopefully, at athletics event this fall. Lots of things happening beginning in August. Everyone be safe out there. Stay cool if you can. And thanks for all your support of Marshall. And as always, go Herd.